So we see some of the major issues kind of with the diagnostic space right now being lack of access and how long it takes for diagnostics, especially in the infectious disease space. So the most common infections that people get are urinary tract infections and sexually transmitted infections. And when you go to the doctor right now, they take a sample and they send it out to culture, and it can take 3 to 5 days to get a response. And at that point, you've already been prescribed antibiotics, and that can be problematic if they're the wrong ones, because that can lead to even more resistances if you have a resistant strain. So we want to develop platforms that allow your doctor to measure antibiotic resistance at the bedside. So you could do it in half an hour with minimal instrumentation, which is one of the advantages of electrochemistry. The instrumentation is really inexpensive and easy to use. And so this would really revolutionize how we think about both diagnosing and then also treating infectious disease. So we've developed a platform that allows you to detect the biological activity of a sample that contains this specific type of pollutant. So endocrine disruptors are a family of pollutants that are chemically dissimilar, but they all bind to the same receptor in your body. So if you're thinking about, say, wastewater or a stream that's polluted, you could have 5 or 6 different chemicals that look very different that all act on the same receptor. So we developed a platform that allows you to detect things that act like estrogen. And these compounds are known to decrease fertility. They can lead to diabetes and obesity. And so our sensor basically tells you how complex mixtures of compounds, or even compounds that we don't know the identity of, act on your body. So currently, to detect endocrine disruptors, there's kind of 2 ways to do it. There are cell-based assays, which are similar to ours, which use the human hormone receptor. So anything that binds in your body will show up in this assay, but they take several days and trained personnel in core facilities to do. The other kind of family are biosensors, which are often fluorescence-based, which can be tricky to detect in the field, and they can only detect 1 or 2 chemicals at a time. So if you don't know if a chemical is an endocrine disruptor, or you don't necessarily know what you're looking for, or if you have a mixture of compounds, which often happens at pollution sites, then those biosensors are not going to work. So ours is kind of, we see it as the best of both worlds. Our biosensor is rapid electrochemical, so cheap instrumentation, and we use disposable electrodes. It takes only about half an hour for us to run and costs us under $2 an assay on a non-industrial scale. But because we're using a native hormone receptor, anything that binds in your body, like with the cell-based assays, will bind in our assay. So 2 of the complications with compounds like BPA or bisphenol A, which is found in a lot of kitchen products, is that they can leach into food. So you need to be able to detect them in complex mixtures. And then when you get something that's BPA free, you're not necessarily sure what they've replaced it with is safe. So we've been able to detect BPA that we've added to baby formula, which means that we can detect this compound if it has leached into food at very low concentrations. Our detection limit is at the IC50, which means it's at a biologically relevant concentration. And we can also detect compounds that we don't know the identity of. So we were able to detect whatever leached out of a plastic baby bottle upon microwaving. This baby bottle was BPA free, so we don't know what it's made out of, but we do know that based on what leached out, it will act in your body like estrogen or like BPA. And the amount that leached out is equivalent to 100 nanomolar of the native hormone, which is a very high exposure rate.